Welcome to the Parks and Cons SoCal Parks Talk, where we bring you news from the Southern California theme park scene and take you to the heart of the action at those parks. I'm Carmel, and this is my co-host Sean.
Hey guys, it is great to be back after a couple big weeks at the parks. We got lots to share, lots to talk about in the news. We're going to take you to two magnifications this time, so we're going to actually skip the park tips as we take you down to Legoland, California, and Universal Studios Hollywood. Has been a couple big things going on there. But before we get to that, let's take a park hop where we look at some of the recent news from the parks. Park hop is news from around the parks, 3 or 4 of the biggest stories that caught our attention. It is not meant to be a fully comprehensive list of all the news in the park industry, but some of the things that caught our eye. As always, jump into the comments section if there's things that we missed that you think we should talk about so we can consider them for future stories. So with that being said, what's up first?
Okay, first up, the Disney California Adventure Food and Wine Festival has begun, and we've visited a few times. What are your thoughts on the event so far?
Well, yeah, we have been out there. If you followed along with us on our YouTube channel, social media, we've been posting stuff, some video of things there and all of that. I think my overall thought has been pretty consistent from opening day to what we're about 2 weeks into it now, which is some really good food, very small portions, a bit overpriced. That's to me the kind of encompasses the entire experience. It's fun to be able to grab these different treats there. It's neat to see the food offerings that they have. That being said, all of it is kind of a sample size. I think we posted on Instagram just like the bread bowl, the soup bread bowl is basically a dinner roll with like 4 spoons of soup in it, and it's like $5.50 or something like that. So I mean, everything is really overpriced. Everything is tiny. The tasting card is kind of a ripoff because they decreased it from a $45 price to a $39 price, but in the end, you don't really get any value for that because most of the items are going to place you under that. Like if you get a couple desserts or things like that, it's just the math doesn't quite work out, but you do get a lanyard. But anyway, it's neat to have it. I mean, I'm always a fan of having events. I know we were just there Sunday and talking about that. It's always fun to see new things in the park. We love to see new things in the park. It's not anything that I'll be holding my breath for to come back next year, although I hope it does return, and I hope it comes back in a bigger and better fashion. Hopefully this is like a trial run to improve it and bring it to something a little bit larger in scale, a little bit better in terms of economics, and just kind of encompass the park more, though. What about for you?
Well, I think it's fine that it's there. I'm not a big fan of the way it's set up. It's pretty compact in that little area out between Carthay Circle and the Blue Sky Cellar, and most of it is in that small area, so the long lines take up a lot of that area. The thing with the tasting cards that surprised me was I thought that it would be, okay, I've paid for my card and now I can just go pick up my food at the windows where I want to. But in reality, even with the cards, you still have to wait. Basically, there's at each stand, there's 2 lines. There's the line to pay for the item and then the line to pick up your item. And so even with the tasting cards, you still have to wait in the paying line, even though you've already paid, but you have to, I guess, hand over the little piece of the card. So that doesn't really save much time. I mean, I guess it's a little more convenient that you don't have to take out your wallet every time and think about the cash that you're wasting, you're spending. But yeah, it's definitely not a time saver by any means. The items we've tried, I've liked all of them, but they are so small. And I'm not sure if there is even any place that you can then get the food if you want a full-size portion, because I don't think there are specific restaurants that are represented. So
no, it's just the sample size.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, I love this bread bowl or I love this shrimp and crab cocktail, but where can I go get more? And there isn't a place unless I fork over another $5-6 on the itty bitty tasting. That being said, though, we've gone I think 2 or 3 times where we've actually purchased some food and actually tried it, and we've gone with friends and we've gone by ourselves, and they're nice snacks. They're, of course, a little pricier than I would like to pay for a snack, and normally I would just bring in an extra, bag of chips or an extra whatever to go into the park for a snack in between meals. But it's a difference, and it's cool, and people seem to be enjoying it. I'm also a little confused because all the signs and all the paper, all the maps and everything say that it's on the weekends from April 1st to May 1st, but the other day we were there on a Thursday, I think.
Yeah,
or
Wednesdays and
Wednesday.
Thursdays been open, yeah.
And it's been open, so I'm guessing they're making enough money that it warrants them staying open. But even now, the signs don't clearly state that that area is opening up, even right out front. So, I mean, it's cool that it's there. It's an extra addition. Obviously, we don't have to go there, and we're not usually there during the Pixar parade, so we're not missing that because that's canceled for the month because this takes up that space. So we don't usually make it for that anyway, so I'm not losing anything by it being there, and it's a nice thing to have an option to stop by.
Yeah, I mean, the way I've heard it described a few times is it's kind of feels half-assed, and I think that kind of works. Is it feels like it wasn't fully committed to. The employees, the cast members definitely aren't, for the most part, the ones we've interacted, not really ready for the big lines and ready for the, I mean, several of those booths have been moving really slow, and when you combine tiny food, expensive food, slow lines, it just doesn't have me too interested in it. That said, when we're wandering by, if it's, you know, a short line somewhere, it's like, oh, let's try this real quick. On the, you know, wine tasting front and the beverage side of it, that's not our thing, so we can't really report on that. That said, everybody that has reported on it, it's been fairly consistent. That didn't sound that dissimilar than the food side, which is it's neat little addition, fun little things here and there, bit overpriced in general, and you know, as with the food, you're not really getting a lot of value there. So fun experience, neat little thing. You know, I'd love to see every park have something different every month to kind of bring you out as a new thing to see, whether it's, you know, hunting Easter eggs or Boysenberry Festival or this. So it's just the thing for April there, and you know, we'll enjoy it and stuff. But I'd love to see them go bigger and better for next year, and hopefully that's what they see. I think they're definitely making money off of it in a very good way, and so hopefully that will entice them to, you know, bring their A game next year and spread it out even more.
Yeah, that'd be good.
All right, next up.
Okay, so the next item is that Knott's Berry Farm has introduced a new photo pass system called FunPix, and we've used it now. We're able to sample it. It costs $29.99 per day, or $39.99 for the season, which is basically the rest of the year, so all of 2016. So what do you think? Is that worth the price, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so full disclosure, Knott's was kind to reach out to us to have us test the system and, you know, toy around with it and see what we thought of it, and it was a lot of fun. And I think my biggest thought coming away from it is a great thing probably for Knott's if they were, you know, I don't know if they're able to swing this, but I think if they gave their pass holders or some portion of them the ability to try it for a day, I think a lot of people would end up buying it, because I know my conclusion was that maybe it wouldn't be as much use for you and I with the hours we visit and the activities, but for my mom, and when I bring my mom there, she does like the character meet and greet things. It's neat having the borders. For the rides on the occasions that we have friends there that do the roller coaster thing, it's really neat for that. To describe the system a little bit, you really have three things that it does. First off, if there's a photographer present, they scan your card, you have that digital version of the picture with the nice border. So for example, when you go through the turnstiles at first, or maybe doing a character meet and greet with Snoopy or something like that. Second off, then you have the rides that have the photos. Obviously a lot of the roller coasters have those photo experiences, log ride, things like that. Again, you get the digital version, you swipe your card at the kiosk, now you've got that. And then thirdly, you've got the borders that you can unlock just using your phone and the Knott's app. You just scan these barcodes in a few of the different locations throughout the park, and it gives you a border, and then you take a picture with your own cell phone, and now you have this cool little border around it. So you've got three different ways to make use of it, and so for $40 for a year, it's well worth it. Then you can buy physical copies for $5, and so you're not only getting the, you know, various things regarding the photographers, the rides, and the borders, but you're also getting the ability to buy then physical copies for $5 yourself there. So I think it's an amazing deal for $40 for a year. I don't see myself being, I mean, obviously being pass holders, we go a lot. We don't do marathon days there. I can't imagine really wanting the $30 for one day version. But that said, if you were there on a school field trip with a bunch of kids and, you know, family, things like that, I could see that even being worth it. It's definitely all much more economical than just, you know, paying $25 for one photo or things like that. So I really like it. I feel like right now a lot of people don't really know fully what it is. I know we didn't. We got there and we really had to kind of figure it out. Many of the employees at the photo booth, the photographers even throughout the park just weren't really clear on where were the places to unlock the borders. It'd be great to see Knott's put together some sort of map or just some package in general to push, because I think if they gave it a good marketing push, a big implementation push, I think people will like it, because I don't think there's anything about it that makes you feel like it's not an amazing value and a fun little tool to play with. So I definitely think we will, you know, buy it. Like I said, it may not come in as much for you and I, but I think definitely for the people that we bring with us, for those occasions when we bring other friends there, or, you know, as I said, when I bring my mom there, she enjoys all that.
Yeah, I really appreciated at the end of the log ride,
Pony Express,
Silver Bullet. I feel like I'm missing a ride or two. I think Accelerator has it, but we didn't go on it that day. It was nice to get off the ride, and then we were with friends, so we just went. We scanned the little barcode on the kiosk. I think because a lot of people aren't using it yet, there wasn't even one other person I saw the entire time using the kiosk at the end of any of the rides. So it's really easy to just go up there. I avoided the counter where everybody was debating on ordering pictures and whatever. And I just went to the little kiosk, scanned it, found our picture, saved it. It gave me the option to purchase. I said no, and then it just saved to the app or to the phone. So that was really convenient. I really enjoyed that. But we don't on every occasion go on roller coasters, and we don't usually do the meet and greets. But if it's something that we can use, like at Not Scary Farm, I don't know if the FunPix will be valid during Scary Farm, or if that'll be a separate one that we would need to purchase. But that, I think, would be well worth it for us, because we do tend to take more pictures there, especially when we go with more friends and groups and stuff. So, I mean, it's a great deal. Oh, and also it was convenient because on one of the rides, my friends and I got separated and put on two separate pictures, and I was able to scan the same FunPix and get both pictures, so that wasn't an issue either. So if we had been there with a group of 10, I could have used my FunPix and gotten all the pictures for all 10 of us. So very economical. I mean, Knott's does an amazing job of keeping prices reasonable so that it's accessible to families, and embraces the regional park aspect and is there for the people in the area. So I think for the majority of people doing the season pass, the $40 is going to be well worth it. I mean, even a family that only goes twice a year, the season pass would be well worth it. I mean, it would be 2 printed pictures basically if they just printed the picture. So I think it's a great deal, but I agree it would help if there was more clarification. On their website, there's more explanation of it in the specific rides that it's available, but it's not in a pamphlet format that you can pick up as you walk in or pick up at the photo booth or whatever to get a better understanding. So it would be great if they put that together, assuming that they want there to be a big purchase or a big push into it. I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, why implement? So I don't know if that's in the works and it'll be coming later, but for as often as we go to the park to have not had a clear understanding of what it was, I think that really says something about the lack of education out there on the product. So I'm glad we got to try it, and I'm glad we liked it, and we can encourage our friends and family to move forward with that or ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult that day to find an employee that really could clearly explain any of the components, just the unlocking of the borders or anything like that. So I think it's just one of those things that it's, you know, it's slowly being implemented. It's almost like it's in the soft open mode, and now as it moves into summer, I'm guessing the education level will pick up there and maybe more of those. But more, you know, as you said, there should be like a 1-sheet flyer that has a map of it, and, you know, here in 3 easy steps, this is what it does. Maybe when you buy tickets, I'm not sure, because we obviously have season passes. Maybe there's some literature then at that point, but it'd be great to have things at that point when you walk in, and at the photo booth, all those areas. When I asked the team members at the photo booth, you know, do you have any information or anything? They said, no, it's just basically it unlocks inside. They weren't even fully clear, the ones I talked to there. So I think it is a much better product, and it's a amazing deal relative to the amount of effort being put into right now, kind of articulating what it is. So I think once all the team gets on the same page and presents it in the way that it is now, I think people will, it'll catch fire, because it's a really great deal and a great service there. So
yeah, definitely.
All right, next up.
So next up, in the last few weeks, there's been some interesting items on the front of Marvel being present at the Disneyland Resort. For example, Superhero HQ has closed, and then Captain America and Spidey have moved over to Hollywoodland and DCA to do their meet and greet. Also, the Mad Tea Party has ended its run, and then a new Marvel/Star Wars store has basically taken over the Gone Hollywood store. So that's all Star Wars and Marvel now. So Hollywoodland is going through some transformation, it seems like, but I don't know, what do you make of all these little tweaks?
Well, it's with the the YouTube talk show and the podcast. I mean, it's hard to remember obviously where we talk about everything, because I just did a podcast which probably is posted if you guys check out on iTunes and Stitcher now by the time this show is on our YouTube channel. But talking about kind of the history of Marvel at the Disneyland Resort. All that coming together, it really seems the signs point that Marvel is moving into DCA. We've heard the rumors for a long time about there being a Marvel land kind of, snaking around the back behind Hollywood Tower of Terror and, out towards the Cove Bar area and stuff behind Cars Land and all of that. That said, immediately, it really has the feel of something like a Frozen Fun. Is there's these little pieces that kind of came together to create this Frozen-themed mini land, this temporary spot over there by Stage 17 and Monsters University and all of that stuff. And it feels like we have the same thing here. Super HQ has cleared out. It was kind of an odd fit, obviously, in the first place there with all season of the 4 Star Wars going on in Tomorrowland. So it makes sense. Cap and Spidey, although the meet and greet looks very temporary, it fits okay, kind of the New York background or Hollywood buildings background. You do have the new store, which I found that interesting. And then it just feels like, obviously we had in the news that the Mad Tea Party ended, because right now it's become the lifestyle stage for the Food and Wine Festival, but there's been no announcement of what will come after that ends, May 1st. Muppet Theater, I think it's April maybe 25th. No, actually April 17th. It's coming up even quicker than that, is the last Frozen sing-along in the Muppet Theater. So it just feels like a lot of these things are trending towards opening up area there for Marvel to do something. So it would make sense to me that there's some little Marvel preview. I don't know if they could move fast enough that it would be a Civil War one, but some sort of Marvel thing in the Frozen Theater or Muppet Vision Theater on the stage, some sort of Marvel dance party. I mean, we've talked about these things again in a few different of our formats in different ways, but it feels to me each day in Gone Hollywood, the store being totally transformed into Star Wars Marvel and just a really heavy Marvel presence there. It just feels more and more like things are moving that way, where we might have our little temporary Marvel land over there. And it works even with the animation building there. I mean, it'd be really easy to incorporate in there drawing whatever Thor or Hulk or Spider-Man or things like that. So I like it. It's fun. It's different. Much like Food and Wine, it's a temporary little thing. Obviously, much more look forward to like a real authentic land coming, but I'd be up for a Marvel summer fun, some fun little thing like that as a temporary event. I don't know. Agree, disagree?
I agree. It would be cool if in the animators and the art classes, that
animators palette,
I could see it even being a creating comic books little section or whatever, maybe meant for a slightly older crowd than just the drawing classes are. Now didn't you mention, or isn't there already a Marvel kind of late night dance party sort of thing in Florida?
Yeah, there is. Or there was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not out.
Yeah, tied into Guardians of the Galaxy, and we never got Guardians of the Galaxy characters out here, which was surprising to me. I listened back to the podcast we did on the history of Marvel at the Disneyland Resort Part 1, which was about a year and a half ago or something like that, and at the time, Guardians of the Galaxy had not come out yet. And we're talking about, well, I wonder if that's going to come over, and it never did. And I was really surprised by that. I mean, we got Baymax, we got Hero, obviously Cap, Thor, Spidey now, but we did not get that. And so it's interesting. But as Civil War is about to come out, early reviews are in. Spider-Man and Black Panther are supposedly 2 highlights of the movie, so it'll be interesting. The critics love it. It's going to make a ton of money. I think some way, somehow, it's going to be, we're going to get some Marvel at DCA this summer. Maybe it's a big announcement about, the Marvel land coming officially, finally. Maybe it's this short-term themed thing. Maybe it's just an extra preview for Doctor Strange at some point. I don't know. I just have a feeling that, they're not going to turn away from more Marvel as we get closer.
That'd be cool to see. all for more Marvel coming into the parks and more Marvel at the Avengers Half Marathon, since
Yeah.
there actually isn't all that much. So.
No, I talked about that in the Marvel segment on the next podcast, where it's kind of an update on the history of that. And that's changed this year. It's a superhero with an Avengers Half Marathon and a Cap 5K, and I believe it's a Doctor Strange 10K, and so something along those lines. So they're trying to integrate more of the heroes. So yeah, we'll see. All right, last news item.
So the last news item is that on April 5th, the stars came out to Universal Studios Hollywood for a big night of Harry Potter. Did the opening media night live up to the hype, in your opinion?
I think it definitely did. And in a few minutes when we do our magnification, you guys will check out the video with us as well. We also have it as its own full video of the media VIP event. It was a beautiful event. Our friend Rick West from TPA, who's done a ton of these media things for 20 years. I mean, he compared it to, Indiana Jones and Little Mermaid and all these other, great times of press events. And he said it was definitely one of his top 5. For me, it immediately shot to the top of my list of media events that we've done. If nothing else, just the surreal nature of John Williams, conducting the LA Philharmonic Orchestra with the projection mapping in the most incredible way on the castle. But I mean, everything, being Steven Spielberg being there, Greg Nicotero, Billy Bob Thornton, I mean, all these different celebrities just wandering around, Mindy Kaling. I mean, it seemed like everywhere you looked, you saw somebody there. Having the stars, having all the top brass from Warner Brothers and Universal Studios, NBC. It was just surreal. From start to finish, it was surreal. It more than, I don't know what I imagined. I imagined an all-out amazing event. But it definitely surpassed anything I could imagine. And the land, only because we've been to Florida, I can't say it surpasses what I expected, because I expected Florida, and that's what we've gotten. Obviously, it's been documented, some of the issues with sightline and sound, some limitations in Hollywood with some of the geography and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's just such a beautiful, beautiful land. And the media event was amazing. Opening night was amazing. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the magnification section. But what were your thoughts on the night itself?
I was awestruck. I mean, just the whole thing was so surreal to even be there, for one. But then, the orchestra was so beautiful. The music was amazing. The projections were better than anything we've seen, I think, on as far as projections go. So, yeah, I think it definitely lived up to the hype. There were, I think, lots of tears of just emotion from people being there. Lots of tears, lots of cheers, lots of just positive emotions and feelings going on throughout the whole place. And I don't think I heard any negative comments from anybody around that night. I think everyone was impressed, and I think it was more than the free butterbeer that caused everyone to be so happy, because especially the media, we didn't get the free butterbeer really until after, so I don't think that was influencing the opinions. So
it was overwhelming in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's go ahead and move over to our magnification, where we will come back and talk more about the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in a second, in our second part of our magnification. But first up, we're going to talk about Ninjago World at Legoland, California. And so magnification is our segment where we really magnify on one topic and take an adventure through the space that it inhabits. And so first up, with Ninjago World, this is the very popular intellectual property from Lego. Kids love it. It's bringing a new ride, a new land, new food opportunities, and a bunch of other fun to Legoland, California, a park we already love hanging out in. So we'll give some commentary, but first let's go ahead and take you there to Carlsbad, California, to show you some of the behind the scenes of the construction store as Ninjago World comes together.
If you haven't heard of Ninjago, ask your kids or ask your neighbours' kids. They will have heard of it, I promise you. It's a fantastic storyline, and it's all about a ninja world. So out here in the general courtyard area, in the plaza of Ninjago World, there will be 4 distinct opportunities for children to hone their ninja skills. So using apparatus and equipment out here, they will learn to balance like ninjas, to climb like ninjas, to spin around like ninjas, and also to build like Ninja Master Model builders like Robbie. Once they've performed those tests of ninja skills, they'll be entering the masterpiece, which is the Ninjago the Ride. We're also bringing to Legoland California a brand new food concept within this land. There's a colour board behind you over there on my right. This is Asian street food inspired handheld food. It's absolutely delicious. I've tried it all. Now, just a brief comment on the ride itself, because we're really, really excited about this. It's the first time in North America that we've brought this kind of technology into play. And the children will learn to use, and their parents will learn to use hand gestures to propel 4 different types of missiles, ammunition at beautifully projected targets of the bad guys. So I'll be using, for example, fireballs, ice balls, and lightning, shuddering shockwaves in order to score points as they go through the dojos and go through the ride. This is a first. It hasn't been done in North America before, so we're very, very excited to have worked with a firm called Triatech, who are the industry leaders in this kind of attraction. So,
we have a 500-pound model of Naya and Zane. We have an 8-foot tall building station for kids to build and use their imagination and explore their inner ninja. That's built out of more than 1 million Lego bricks, combining areas for kids to play and be inspired. Behind me, we have ninjas like Lloyd, Master Wu, and Kai. Each of these ninjas will be positioned in their proper location in Ninjago world. So Kai is Master of Fire. He will be near the Spin Jitsu area, where kids can practice their own Spin Jitsu and become ninjas themselves. We have Lloyd, the green ninja behind me, practicing his balance, where kids can be inspired to practice their ninja moves as well. We have Ninjago shields, elemental swords, and guardian dragons that we can't wait to show you later this month.
This will be the heart of the Ninja Training Temple here in Ninjago World. This is where our guests will board these amazing looking ride vehicles. Ninjago the Ride, as Peter mentioned outside, is a 3D interactive dark ride with cutting edge technology and projections. But the secret magical ingredient of the ride is the gesture controls that Peter mentioned outside. So for the very first time on any ride like this, we've been able to completely get rid of typical blasters that you associate with these rides, and we've replaced it with hand gesture controls. Now the hand gesture technology you can see built into all the lap bars on the vehicles themselves. There's 4 on each and every vehicle, 1 for each guest. And they're able to detect not just the presence of your hands, but how your hands move. And as Peter mentioned, that allows our guests to be able to manipulate and control the 4 Ninjago elements of fire, earth, lightning, and ice. Very fortunately, and thank you to the guys in Triatech for making this happen for us this morning, we've been able to get the projection system on a couple of our scenes up and fired for you, so you can see what the projection's like this morning. This will be the fire and ice training scenes that guests will see. Now, bear in mind when you watch this, it's a silent movie, because all of the audio is actually delivered via our vehicles, all the speakers on board the vehicles. And when guests are on board the ride, they will also experience physical effects, which will kind of enhance the sense of immersion. So in this scene where we have fire and ice, you see above the park positions of all the vehicles, we have infrared heaters to really accentuate the atmosphere and the feeling of it. So what we're going to ask. So this is the fire scene, and obviously to battle fire, you need to use ice. So in this scene, our guests will be firing balls of ice at the screen with the objects that they see. And then this is Kai battling with you to shoot fire at the enemies in the ice scene. So you'll notice that most of our physical series colours in the middle of being receiving a spinal paint treatment, so it looks super realistic for guests on board the vehicles. But you'll note there are certain bits of theming around the ride which are just white. And the reason for that is we actually project all of the colours and detail from a projector in 3D onto the scenery. So when the projectors are on, this wall will look the same green colour as this physical wall here. The reason for doing that is two things. First of all, it allows us to, again, blur that line between what's real and what's being projected. And two, it allows us to physically animate these scenes. So guests aren't just going to be able to throw their element, fire, ice, earth, and lightning at the projected scenes. They'll be able to also throw them at these scenes as well. And they'll see reactions. So when they fire elements of what will be a door here, an enemy will open the door, come out, and fire something right back at you. So this really blurs the line between what's real and what's being projected. And that's exactly what we want to do. In the story here, you see that there's 4 vehicles parked in front of this screen. Because to defeat the Great Devourer, you can't do it alone. You need to work together to all fire your elements at the screen to defeat the Great Devourer. So in this scene, you'll end up at the top of the mountain. Coal will set up an earthquake. You'll fall all the way down into the temple courtyard, and you'll get to battle the Great Devourer. All the way around the ride, guests will have individual screens to show the points that they're attaining. The way the ride is being developed means that there are little, what we call Easter eggs inside each of the scenes. So if you've ridden it once or twice before, you may find little secret things you can fire at, which will enable you to get super points as you go around. The other really cool thing about the way the game's been developed is it uses what we kind of term real physics, which means that we're not just assigning predefined targets guests can shoot at. It means that if a guest decides to shoot at something we don't consider to be a target, a random lamp or a piece of rock, guests will still see something happen. Guests will still see an effect to make it as realistic and as fun as possible. And it is really good fun just knocking down a brick wall. Believe me, it's really cool. Okay, so that's the finale. At the end of this scene, of course, if you've mastered your skills correctly, the Great Devourer gets scared away, and we end up seeing all of the ninjas, Kai, Zane, Lloyd, Nia, Cole, and Jay, on this screen. And here you're back in the temple, and you're being congratulated for doing such a fantastic job in mastering your ninja skills.
All right, hopefully you enjoyed that look at the behind the scenes. I know I loved going down there. I love going down to Legoland. I think it's really fun. It feels like a park always to me that's great for two extremes. The kiddies and then the adults, you know, and maybe the teens I could see, you know, not fitting some of their needs in terms of, you know, the more high action rides or things like that. But a lot of things to see for adults, and Ninjago World I think will blend that. Much like Voyage to the Iron Reef coming to Knott's Berry Farm, it does bring a ride when the Ninjago World ride comes that's very much hands-on, interactive. I mean, you're going to be firing ice, firing fire with your hands, very superhero-like, whether you're a kid or an adult that remembers being a kid. I mean, that's super fun. It's like you're going to have superpowers there. It's put together, the ride, by the same company that did Iron Reef, which is Triotech. So the technology is similar, just replacing the gun with the hand motions. And it's going to be a mix of physical props and the screens as well. So that's fun. It's neat that it's getting its whole land. You know, it's the highest capacity ride they've ever put there, and I'd say it's the most, you know, family friendly. Really, it's one that it feels like all ages are going to enjoy. Obviously, it's going to be the cornerstone of that land. In addition, though, there's going to be some neat new food options there. There's a good variety of types of food at Legoland. One of the things we were talking about with the head chef is just the oddity that there's no Mexican food really there. But besides that, there's just about everything else you can imagine, and a lot of it's very clean, healthier food. The Vietnamese sandwiches and things that we tried there were a great variety of types of sandwiches, meats, spices, seasonings, things like that, different drinks. There'll be the Lego Master Builders on hand, a lot of hands-on things for the kids, as everything at Legoland. And in general, just is a really cool looking addition. It's hard to imagine from the video you just saw, that's all going to open up April 28th for the media day, and then I believe it's May 5th for the public. So definitely something we'll be at checking out. You can follow along with us. We'll do a bunch of videos there, but something excited about. I mean, I know you weren't there, but any thoughts on the additions?
Well, I was impressed. I mean, I watched the video that you took as I put it together, and yeah, I guess it was more than I was expecting. I'm not familiar with the property really with Ninjago. I know that kids love it, and every once in a while I'm flipping through the cartoon channel or whatever channels they show the Lego shows on, I'll catch a second or two of it. But beyond that, I don't really have any knowledge of it. But that being said, the ride itself and the way the screens look like they're going to work and stuff, it looks amazing. So I'm looking forward to being able to experience it, and I'm sure the kids are going to love it, and I'm sure it'll bring additional extra people to the park that may otherwise not go for whatever reason.
Right.
But Legoland is great in general, and to add this extra thing is, I think, going to be a great addition to the park.
Yeah, and I mean, it will have a lot of repeatability. Again, you know, these rides where you're, you know, trying to improve your score and challenge your friends and family, it just brings a lot of repeatability. I know we've seen that a lot at Knott's. We've heard a lot of people talk about that. I know every time I'm there, my mom wants to go on and try and score a higher, you know, that time, and different friends the same. So it's a good way to get the pass holders to want to come back and try something again and again and again. And it's, you know, it's going to be a high capacity ride for them. It really will be a cornerstone. I'm guessing it'll be a very busy summer in that section of the park for sure. So.
Do you know, or did they mention what the capacity compares to Iron Reef or anything else?
They didn't give numbers on that.
Just
at least not when I was
they
there.
have.
Yeah, and it was a big scale project for them. They said actually in the types of projects, because somebody asked the budget, and they said they don't disclose that information, but they said they basically operate in cycles, and that they kind of have small, medium, and large cycles, and this is the medium year. So despite it being a whole land, a lot of people were surprised at the size scale that this is like a medium-sized investment. So curious to see what's just coming around the corner in the year or two to come there. So
yeah, that'd be great.
yeah. All right, then in our second magnification, we'll head back to Universal Studios Hollywood as Wizarding World of Harry Potter has opened up. We've talked about it on this show. We've talked about it on the podcast a few times. It's a topic that bears a lot of conversation in 2016. It has changed the theme park world here for us Southern Californians for sure. So before we get into talking more specifically about the land, let's go ahead and take you to a little bit of that VIP media event so you can get a feel for some of the fun that was the opening night of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal Studios Hollywood. Here they come.
I know, we're like, hey, we'll do a picture. We'll do a picture with you, of course.
You're going on the right, even though you didn't
Rex is waiting.
She tried. No, she comes to my house at 1:50.
Was there any other?
Yeah, he was like right there, and I was like, nope. So close.
It's hilarious.
Okay,
with my smirk and my non-smile.
I'm gonna put. That's awesome. You stitching it? Yeah. That's hilarious. Well, oh, that's all kinds of great.
Dude, our goofy faces that go with freaking Rick.
I need more. I need to get you guys from more of a distance. Hilarious. Jason Blum just came by.
Did I say anything or?
It's organic that way, though, obviously, in the conversation.
Yeah.
A little crowded up here, so just bear with me. That's what that was. I'm just like,
I'm in the.
Hope their signal doesn't crap out for you guys.
To begin, please welcome the Hogwarts School Choir.
Double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burning, pouring, trouble, double, double. meat, have a butterbeer.
Pardon the intrusion.
How can I help you?
I was wondering if someone could help me find a Mr. Larry Kurzweil. I am the wand keeper, and I have something very special to deliver to him and only him.
That's me.
Ah! Brilliant! This is yours. I believe we did an excellent job in repairing it. So, let's give it a go, shall we? Point your wand in this direction and say the spell Incendio! Go on, give it a wave.
Incendio!
Aha! Brilliant! A perfect fit!
Incendio!
Oh, magnificent!
Incendio!
Perhaps we should, maybe, just...
Incendio!
That's well enough. I can see the wand has truly found its wizard. Now, I must say goodbye. Please, enjoy yourselves. I am certain that we shall all meet again soon. Carry on!
Incendio! That is so cool.
Excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, important reporter coming through. Excuse me, reporter business coming through, pardon me, excuse me. Gentlemen, good evening. I am from the Daily Prophet, and I have been tasked with properly documenting this evening for posterity. Photographs, gentlemen, properly posed photographs, yes. We're walking, you're following me this way, exit. Mr. Mayor, if you will, into the center here next to Mr. Kurzweil, looking powerful. Oh, splendid, you did that automatically. This way, sirs, follow me here. Yes, Mr. Ron Meyer here, sir. Mr. Wasserman, yes, here. Oh, it's all, oh, splendid, I love it. Oh, I love it. Looking forward, take a step forward, eyes shining and smiling. It wouldn't do gentlemen any justice whatsoever if the photographs this evening were anything less than perfect. Smiles, please, thank you. Brilliant, simply brilliant. Now, Mr. Kurzweil, sir, I was informed there are additional special guests joining us this evening. Shall we introduce them, please? Thank you.
Our night would not be complete without our next guests, talented performers who brought J.K. Rowling's magical world to life on screen. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from the Harry Potter film series, Tom Felton, Ivana Lynch, Warwick Davis, and last but not least, I think we have a couple more guests arriving in time. Let's give it up for James Phelps and Oliver Phelps. I'm honored to ask one more person to join us on stage. He's a quintessential part of the Harry Potter films, a motion picture legend, and is quite truly a national treasure. Because, as Professor Dumbledore reminds us, music is magic beyond all we do here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome for a warm welcome for world-renowned composer, John Williams.
To document this moment for the perfect photograph. We are smiling here, eyes bright. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you tomorrow morning's front page of the Daily Prophet. Miss President, if you will.
Joining us for tonight's finale is one of the world's leading orchestras. We are also honored to welcome the Los Angeles Philharmonic. To once again quote Professor Dumbledore, let us entertain our friends in the best way we can. Maestro, if you would do us the honor. was truly amazing. How about an added round of applause for Tim Runco and his amazingly talented entertainment team who put together tonight's magnificent show. Thank you all for joining us for the premiere of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal Studios Hollywood. You're now all invited to enjoy Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Hogwarts has come to Hollywood. Maestro, as our guests enter the castle, may we prevail upon you and this marvelous orchestra one last time.
All right, well, hopefully you enjoyed that look. You know, we've talked about it, again, in a variety of places. It's surreal having it here. Immediately, you arguably have the best land, the best restaurant, or best theme park food, best ride, best shopping experiences, all at Universal Studios Hollywood. Now, again, people will debate. Some people are hardcore Disney fans and would dispute any of that. But that said, if you're going to go to it in an unbiased way, it's a really tough argument. It's pretty amazing there. What I love most about the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, though, is it's created this new model. It's really shifted the paradigm in theme parks, which is it's created a lot of space where you can enjoy an area without having to be on the ride. You know, as the old model was the ride was the center and everything was about getting in line for the ride and doing the ride 10 times, and maybe there was this little snack place next to it, or maybe there's a little food option here. But in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, it's really more about shopping and eating, and then there's this amazing ride, and there's, you know, 2 rides there. And so I think that's really neat because especially in Southern California, even more so than in Florida where it's been so successful, we are a people here that want to just go to the parks and have a bite to eat, have a few drinks, and enjoy kind of the people watching elements. And this place is well suited for that. I mean, you know, the biggest line you've got to fight is to get your butter beer or you get your interactive wand and want to participate in those things. The other side of it, though, is it's genius in what they've created, and this goes back to Florida, but is it's an experience where people have to get a butterbeer, they have to get a wand, you know, they have to get a scarf, or like there's these things, there's this real compulsion for people that they want these certain items, and it revolves around more than the ride. And then the ride in a lot of ways becomes the cherry on the top, is it's like this extra really cool thing. But I love just wandering the land. When we were there, you know, definitely nothing topped John Williams performing and things like that, but some of my favorite memories already in the you know 3 months or whatever it is that we've been able to experience Potter out here is just sitting in the land, listening to the music, watching people, you know, interact with the wands, noticing different details every time. It's just an incredible place. And as I've told all of our friends and family that have not been there yet, it's incomparable. There's nothing else to compare it to. If you're watching this and you've not experienced Wizarding World of Harry Potter here, Florida, Japan, whatever, there's nothing to even compare it to. Because Cars Land, when you say, you know, well, it's like Cars Land, but like that just doesn't do it, because it's not. It's a whole different level of immersion. It's a whole different level of interaction that nothing else has, and that makes it really special. And it's fun to be there, kind of on the front lines, covering it in 2016 as we have this new gift. And you got to wonder what it's going to mean for things like Star Wars Land and all the other stuff that's going to come in the next 20, 30, 40 years in theme parks out here.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting as a consumer to see how they've raised the bar so much, and knowing that Star Wars Land, whatever it ends up being called, is going to have to compete with that, because yeah, as you said, there just isn't anything out there to compare it to. And even the hardcore Disney fans you need to really appreciate, though, that you may not love Harry Potter or Hogsmeade or, you know, any of that, but still appreciate the fact that it's there and that Universal has lifted that bar so high, because it's, I don't know, it's kind of crazy to think of what Disney's going to have to come up with to compete with it, and they're going to, we know that's coming, so it's crazy to think of what that's going to be. So very exciting times as a theme park attendee. It's impressive to go there, and I'm most excited though to see what it makes Disney do with the future stuff that's coming.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, and if you're watching this show and you've not been there, you have to go. It's got to be a must for 2016. I mean, it's, you know, as with any of the parks, it's expensive, you know, to buy the ticket and spend the day and all of that. But that said, I don't think you'll be sorry. You don't have to be a Potter fan to enjoy it. It's a whole different level. As we've talked about before, you know, we've seen the movies, we like the movies, but they're not movies we've watched repeatedly. We've not read the book, so it's not like we're, you know, hardcore Potter fans yet. I would say I'm definitely a hardcore Wizarding World of Harry Potter at Universal Studios fan. That's a whole different topic. And it just makes me that much more excited again for what they're going to do next, because one of the things they noted in talking about the park is they've changed 75% of the park in the last few years there, and it's noticeable. I mean, you look Springfield, Minions, Transformers, Fast and the Furious, Walking Dead is coming. I mean, everywhere, the entry plaza, ticketing, everything is constantly being updated. And it's crazy to think that if you were there like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you wouldn't even practically recognize the park. There's so many differences there, and they've got their foot pressed firmly on the gas. I don't think we're far off from Diagon Alley coming and maybe a few other fun things the next few years. So they're really, you know, they're bringing their A game and they're pushing Disney. And at the end, we've talked about it on the last episode, theme park fans win. All right, so why don't we go ahead and wrap up this show here? Why don't you let people know where they can find you?
Well, you can reach me directly on Twitter at Connoisseur, which is CON_NOISSEUR, or you can reach me directly by email at carmel@parksandcons.com.
And I am the Confluence. You can find me on Twitter at _con_fluence. Also, obviously, manning a lot of our social media for Parks and Cons. If you're interested in more con talk or park talk, you can always find our podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. We've got about 140 episodes up there of all sorts of even more detailed conversation about these various topics. Also, if you're interested specifically in conventions, because obviously there's a lot of overlap between the Parks and Cons world, it's why we're at that intersection. We alternate weeks, so you find on this channel 1 week con talk, 1 week park talk, so we go back and forth there. So if you subscribe, you'll make sure not to miss any of that. Please help support our show by using our Amazon link on our homepage. Just head over to parksandcons.com, click there before you make any of your purchases, and it will help support our show, our channel, and everything that we do. You can find us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Periscope, all of them at Parks and Cons. We thank you again for tuning in here, and until next time, we'll see you in line somewhere.